Hi friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to this week's What's for Dinner. If you are new here, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. And don't forget to leave a like or comment down below because it really does help my channel. Today's What's for Dinner is going to have some new meals, and one of them is one we really enjoyed. So I've been craving like beanies and weenies, and if you don't know what that is, it's like pork and beans and hot dogs. But I did have hot dog buns I needed to use up as well. So I made like a combination of the two. I remember seeing a recipe on that like a while back, and it was surprisingly very delicious. Definitely hit that craving spot. But anyways, let's just get started. Okay, so this was a throw together meal for me. I had some pantry items I needed to use up, like these cheese tortellinis that I get from Aldi. They're just like shelf stable, and so I'm taking 2 packages of these. These are 8.8 ounces each, so about a pound's worth, close to there, and I'm just boiling them according to package directions. And then once they are finished, I will drain them, and then to that same pot I'm taking this jar of Alfredo sauce. It's a 15-ounce jar, and I'm going to just pour that into the pot. And if you want to make homemade Alfredo sauce, that's way better, but I didn't have any Parmesan cheese, so I had this jar. I like to keep them on hand for stuff like this, and sometimes I get them for free or really cheap, so they're great to have in the pantry. And I took a little cream and put it in the jar to get the rest of the sauce out. I'm going to be trying to stretch this sauce out a little bit more by adding some ingredients, but I love this because it's going to be like a throw together. So I had some spinach that I needed to use up. It wasn't a lot. I just had it in the refrigerator left over, so I just took that, rinsed it, put it in there so it could just cook down a little bit. I have some Italian blend cheese, which is like mozzarella, provolone. It's got like a blend, and I thought, I'll put a hefty handful of that and a little bit more heavy cream and stir that together, and it will create like a little bit more sauce and also a little bit more like cheesiness, because we love our cheesiness. And then I'm taking some of these real crumbled bacon pieces that I get from Sam's Club. It's another good way for me to use some of these up. This is a ginormous bag, and it says it goes bad quickly after opening, like it should only be like 10 days. I've had this more than 10 days. I'm still making do with it as long as it smells good, but if you've ever bought these, tell me how long they've lasted you. 10 days just seals really quick for this giant bag, but I put some of those in as much to my liking that seemed good, and then I stirred that all together, and I put the tortellini in the pot, and I had some grilled chicken, so I added that in. I first just cut up 1 chicken breast worth and put it in just to see. I didn't want it to be like too overly filled with chicken to pasta ratio. Stir that together, and then I decided to serve some of the chicken breast just on the side. In fact, it just tasted so good. It had such good flavor. I've been loving grilling chicken in the Ninja Foodie grill. But anyways, yeah, like I said, I split that other piece with my boyfriend, took a few slices, and I served this with a Normandy blend of vegetables that I just heat up with some butter and salt and pepper. And this was a really quick throw together meal, and we really, really enjoyed it. I have made this Sushi Bake before, and we loved it so much. It's really delicious, and if you're craving sushi, it really hits the spot. This makes big 9x13 pan for the recipe. Next time I think I'm just going to have it for us. It might be a little too many leftovers for just the 2 of us, but we love it a lot. So I had to make it since I had some crab that I needed to use. So I just served that with some avocado and cucumber. You can do your favorite sushi toppings. I love ginger. It's like one of my favorite things. And then seaweed snacks, like the little sheets of seaweed, also very good with this. But this is one of our favorite meals. So I was very happy to have this again. And like I said, I will link that in the description box down below. Okay, so I will have this recipe linked in the description box down below, but I did do some things a little bit different. So they baked everything together. I decided I wanted fried up hot dogs, like that flavor. It really brings out the flavor, especially in a hot dog that's not exactly the best like quality. I think these are just hot dogs, not beef hot dogs. So it really helps to like bring some more flavor to them. So I put a little bit of spritz of oil in the bottom of my pan, and then I just put my hot dogs down in it. I cut them like in half lengthwise so they can get fried up on like as much surface as possible, and you'll just go ahead and fry those until they're browned on both sides. And grilling the hot dogs would be another great option. Next, I'm taking a can of baked beans. I have these Bush's baked beans, the country style ones. Now, this is a 10-ounce can, but it worked for about 4 hot dogs. So, if you have more than that, you are going to want to use a bigger can of beans. And I'm just warming them up. Then I diced up some onion. I diced up some white onion, and I'm taking my hot dog buns that I needed to use up. And I'm just taking 3 because I'm just making them as we eat them here. And I opened them up. Now, the recipe calls for putting mustard on them, and that sounds good to me, but I know my boyfriend will absolutely hate that because he hates mustard. But it says just a thin layer, though, so not too much, and I really think it adds a nice tangy flavor to the beans. Like, you can taste it when you eat it. It's tangy. I actually had one later on. I made another one for myself, and I used more mustard on that. I didn't care for it with a lot more mustard. I'm a big mustard lover, but I really liked it with just the light spread of mustard. But after that, I went ahead and put my hot dogs down in there. Now, like I said, these are big hot dog buns, like the Sam's Club ones. So the hot dogs themselves were not big. So I had to use like cut up pieces to fill the void in the remaining part of the hot dog bun, which worked out perfectly fine. But after doing that, I sprinkled I put the beans on top of the hot dog after that. I went ahead and spread out my baked beans on top, and then I sprinkled some cheddar cheese. Now, go ham on that. I don't know if the recipe tells you how much to use, but it just shows a sprinkling on theirs. But it's really good with a lot of melted cheddar cheese, and this is a sharp cheddar. Really think that helped too with that little extra taste from the sharpness of the cheese. And then I added on my onions. I sprinkled those on top. I bet jalapenos would be really good on this as well. Next time I have this, I'm going to definitely try it with jalapenos. And then I baked mine. I just put it in the oven to melt the cheese, honestly. My hot dogs were already cooked. So since I'm not following the original recipe, I'm just kind of using it as a guideline for the idea. You would be baking it for longer without cooking the hot dogs. But I just baked at 400 for about 3 to 5 minutes just to get things toasted up a little bit on the bun and the cheese nice and melted. And I served this with some nice crunchy tater tots, but this was delicious. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. Now, I love a good chili dog, and it kind of had that resemblance of a chili dog, but that touch of sweetness from the baked beans really was very satisfying with the hot dog. And if you've ever had beanies and weenies and you like that, I definitely recommend giving this a go because it was incredible. This is another really quick and easy weeknight meal that you can make. You're just going to need a packet of au jus gravy, maybe more if you're making many of these sandwiches, and just making that to the package directions by boiling the water, adding it in. I'm stirring it together. You can whisk it, do whatever works best for you, but you just want to combine that, let it heat up. And then take your roast beef. This one I got from Winco. It's a pound's worth of roast beef, so that worked perfectly with per 1 packet of au jus. So if you are making more, you can multiply that 1 pound per packet. And I'm moving the slices to separate them and then drop them down into the au jus and I'm just letting this meat heat up in the hot au jus liquid and kind of get some of that flavor soaked into it. Not very long, but just enough to warm it up. Then I took some rolls that I had. These were bolillo rolls, so they're a little bit more on the French bread side. They have a nice outer crust, and I split them in half, and I put my boyfriend wanted it. I think it was provolone, and then I used Havarti. I just had some Havarti I wanted to use, and it sounded really good on this. And I just put that on the sandwich bread, put that in the oven either on broil for just a couple minutes or 400 degrees for a few minutes, and just enough to let that melt. And then you're just adding your beef mixture on top of the sandwich. It's pretty easy. I serve some of the au jus on the side to dip it into because I love a good dipped sandwich with the crusty bread. So good. And I just served this with some air fried house style fries. They also are very delicious. I love air fried just potato wedges, one of my favorite side dishes, so they complemented this really well. But I'm saying, this is a really quick meal you can throw together the potatoes when getting home, and put them in the air fryer. Everything's done in 20 minutes, and it's a very satisfying meal. Okay, to start this off, you're going to need to cook up some ground beef. The recipe calls for 1.5 pounds. I'm only using a pound of ground beef. And typically you would have to do this in a pan or a skillet. My slow cooker is the Instant Pot one, and it sautés, so I am cooking the meat right in the bottom of my slow cooker. And I've added the pound of ground beef. I just kind of broke that up a little bit so it can start to brown really good, and I just broke it up along the way to my liking. I like my ground beef to be nice and broken up, no huge chunks of like meat. And once there is really no pink remaining, I kind of move that around. I'm going to stick a napkin to just get the remaining grease. You can drain yours if need be. Mine's a very lean meat as it was. I just didn't want that excess grease. And then I'll add in 1 cup of diced onion, or around there. I didn't really measure, but it's around that amount of diced onion. And then 1.5 pounds of potatoes. The recipe called for red potatoes. I had russets to use up, so that's what I did. I sliced them using my mandolin slicer, not the thinnest setting, the next size up. And then after adding those in, I'm adding in a can of cream of mushroom soup. This is the 10.5 ounce can. I'm sure you could also use cream of chicken, cream of celery, whatever works best for you. You're just dumping that on top. And then 28 ounces of diced tomatoes. I have these 14, I think they're 14.5 ounce cans. So I added 2 of those, and then 1 can of drained corn. And then it calls for a 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce. Now, I only had like a 1/4 cup or so. I tried to measure it out for you guys so I could tell you what it was, but I was all out. But I was kind of glad though, because I was probably going to cut that down a little bit anyways. Really didn't really want too much sweetness in this dish, so that little bit, that 1/4 cup helped. And then I'm adding in 1 teaspoon each of salt and pepper, as well as 2 teaspoons each of Italian seasoning, garlic powder, and onion powder. And I will give this all a good stir to combine all of those ingredients, especially making sure to get like that cream of mushroom soup like incorporated, not just like in one spot of the dish. So I'll just keep stirring that together until I feel like it's incorporated well, and then I kind of press it back down to make like a nice even layer on the bottom of the crock pot. And then I put the lid on, and I'm cooking this on high for 5 hours. Now, I haven't tried it, but I'm sure you could get away with putting it on low for 8 to 9 hours as well. Once it's done, it's going to be like this. You're just going to take your cheese, 1.5 cups worth of cheddar cheese. I had a little bit remaining in my little bag that I keep my cheese in, and I had to grate some more, so I wanted to use that old batch up first. And then I'm eyeing it, just like about 1.5 cups worth of that cheddar cheese along the top. You're just going to put the lid right back on it, and you're going to put it back on high for 30 minutes to an hour just to let your cheese melt. Now, I love pretty much any dish that has potatoes in it. I'm a huge fan of potatoes, and I love corn as well, so this was really good to me. I really enjoyed just like cheesiness of with potatoes. It was really, really good. In fact, I cut that meat down, that 1/2 pound, and it worked perfect for me. Next time I might even try to add a little bit extra potatoes to that, because I did feel there was enough liquid to maybe add another 1/4 pound's worth. And I just served this with some sliced up cucumbers and ranch on the side. We went out on this night. We went to go hang out with our friends at Bullwinkles. It was such a family fun thing to do when I was a kid. I still love it. And so I was really excited when they brought it back like the end of last year. And we went a couple months ago to hang out as well. And the food was good then, but they changed the menu for this time, and it was incredible. We got pork belly tacos, pork belly bites, and then they had like loaded fries. I think the loaded waffle fries had pork on them as well, the pork belly. All of it was just really, really incredible. But man, those pork belly bites were delicious. I've never made pork belly bites, but now I really want to give that a try. On this last night for meals, we just had some egg salad. I had some eggs I needed to use up, so I thought the perfect way to do that was to make some egg salad, something we both really love a lot. It's really light and just delicious, and I always love that on just some plain white bread. And I had a little bit of Doritos, like the Cool Ranch ones, and I sliced up some strawberries, and this really hit the spot. I have made egg salad like an actual recipe before that I followed, and I will link that video or that recipe in the description box down below. But this time I just eyed it using, mayonnaise, salt and pepper, and some dried dill, and then some relish, and I just adjusted that until it was to our liking. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I hope you all are having a great day.